Everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Niima Outpost, a monthly Star Wars podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brittany.
I'm DJ.
And today's show is going to focus on episode 9, including casting news, some scene leaks and rumors, and our very early and kind of crazy predictions for episode 9. So first we're going to start off with our first bit of news, and it's a casting announcement that Billy Dee Williams is apparently reprising his role as Lando Calrissian in Episode 9. So what's interesting about this story is that it hasn't officially been confirmed by Lucasfilm, although it was reported by several sources, including The Hollywood Reporter, that he is going to reprise his role. So we haven't gotten official word from Lucasfilm, but it looks like Billy Dee Williams is coming back for sure.
Probably in a role to...
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so what do you think? Like, what is Lando's role going to be?
I don't think they would have asked Billy Dee Williams to come back unless it had to do something with a relationship with Kylo Ren, because you've lost Leia before. Not that the movie knows this yet, but you've lost Leia. So somehow, some way, they've got to take what they probably had planned in 9 and put that on Billy Dee Williams' shoulder instead of Carrie Fisher's shoulders.
Yeah, see, I've seen a lot of people in the fandom super excited about this news. They're like, oh my gosh, someone from the original trilogy is coming back, and it's Lando, and Lando's cool. And I think people are going to get themselves worked up and believe that he's going to have a bigger role than he actually will have. Let's not forget, Billy Dee Williams is like in his 80s.
He is 81 years old.
He's 81 years old. So the guy's not going to be going around and doing crazy action sequences.
He's not going to be doing anything. He's probably going to be sitting in a chair mode.
The Force will be with you.
Most likely.
Right. I see him as someone who's going to help the Resistance out. I see him as, he has this group of people who is going to help the Resistance out, or he gives them shelter on a planet. Maybe Bespin comes back into this if he's still on Bespin, and it's a place where the Resistance can stay and he can give them resources.
Okay.
So he can have sort of that impact on Resistance, because the way it ends in The Last Jedi is that they don't have a lot of people. It's just everybody who's on the Falcon. So I can see him as a favor to Leia, or, in honor of Leia, if Leia is dead at the point where Lando comes in the story.
Why does he have to help the Resistance out? He doesn't like to take sides.
I feel like he would do it because Han was part of it and because of Leia. I don't see them making him work for the First Order.
I'm not saying he works for either.
I see what you're saying, especially since the way he was in Empire.
He played both sides.
Yeah, but then he kind of ended it on the good side.
He did, but he seems like the type of guy who would not like to be getting himself involved in things, especially at his advanced age.
But I think that was part of
he's already been out of the picture long enough that you would expect that he's not just going to jump in the picture now.
But I think that was part of his development in the original trilogy from Empire to Jedi, was that he was this very much like, I'm in it for myself guy, and then saw the complications of that, and then became more of like the good guy.
Right.
In... The Last Jedi.
I'm just saying,
Return of the Jedi, not Last Jedi.
We haven't necessarily seen his influence as Lando throughout this new trilogy, so it very well could be likely that he's not doing so well health-wise, and that he can't get involved as much as he'd like to. And maybe it's not necessarily a moment with the Resistance, maybe it's more a moment with Kylo.
It could be.
Because he's Uncle Lando at this point, and I feel like that's where his biggest contribution to this movie is going to lie, as with a relationship with Kylo Ren, rather than, I'm going to help out the Resistance. I would think the only reason they're bringing him in is because Carrie Fisher died. Now, why would Lando all of a sudden pop up in the Resistance and everyone go, yeah, who are you again?
Like, I I think that makes sense because in the supplemental materials, like in the novelization, especially the novels that came out around the time Solo came out, Lando was present when Ben was growing up.
Right.
And so I can definitely see it, but I just don't see... And again, this is all really because Carrie Fisher is dead, but I don't see the impact that Lando could have on Kylo. Like, it wouldn't be as impactful as Leia's influence would be. And
that we can definitely agree on, but at our current juncture, we don't have a choice, and there's no other character that had that impact on Kylo's life that's available anymore other than Uncle Lando.
Yeah, and what really saddens me about 9 is that we're never going to get the scene of mother and son reuniting. We've had father and son, we've had uncle and nephew.
And we've had son and daughter, son and mother looking at each other.
Yeah.
That's as close as we've got.
But they weren't even in the same place, and they didn't actually see each other. It was that they sensed each other in the Force.
Right.
So they never actually met each other face to face, and that's what was supposed to happen in 9. And that's kind of... I know they had to do rewrites for 9, and that's kind of what's going to happen there. But honestly, I think that Leia will still have an impact on Kylo, and that's something we'll get into in the prediction section. But honestly, I think we can both agree that Lando's just going to be here more of like in a mentoring capacity than he is going to be like action hero, you know, flying the Falcon, taking people down. I don't think that's going to happen.
Right, of course.
All right, so our next bit of news is also casting news, and it's that Keri Russell is in talks to star in episode 9. And if you don't know Keri Russell, she starred in the show The Americans, which just ended, and she was also in Felicity. She starred in the show Felicity, which J.J. Abrams actually created. So this would be like a reunion between them of sorts. I don't think it's necessarily conclusive yet that she's actually in it, but she's in early talks according to Variety. So...
Wasn't there also, I forget, it's not in this article that we're looking at currently.
Yeah, we're looking at an article on Sci-Fi Wire. It's a mixture of all the different news that's come out recently.
But wasn't there something that said that it was more of an action role for her?
Yeah, so apparently it's supposed to be a very action-oriented role. And of course, you know, as Star Wars discourse goes, I've seen people immediately jump to the conclusion, as they do every time an older woman is cast, that she's Rey's mom. I think that ship sailed, guys, in The Last Jedi. Rey's mom's a nobody. I don't think Keri Russell's playing Rey's mom. I think she could be someone in the Resistance. She could be someone in the First Order. She could be a Knight of Ren, which would be incredibly cool. She could be a Force user that maybe Rey runs into. Or maybe not like a gray Jedi, but someone who doesn't necessarily follow the rules of the Jedi.
Or she could play as somebody in the Resistance who's more of a leadership role.
Yeah, she could play a leadership role. She could be maybe a spy. She could play both sides. We don't know. There's a lot of possibilities, but I can pretty much guarantee she's not Rey's mom. I just don't see it. I don't think if we ever do see Rey's mom, it's going to be a brief flashback. It's never going to be a big role because Rey's mom's not important. So,
right.
But I am interested to see, who she plays. And we'll find out because the movie's actually starting to film later this month. And, we'll start getting more information and some more pictures and leaks and all the on-set juicy gossip and stuff. So that should be fun.
Which is why we're doing the predictions now, to be completely in the dark on things.
Yes. All right, so the next bit of news is not really news. It's just, again, internet speculation. But Mark Hamill shaved his beard, which makes everybody think that he's going to be in episode 9 as a Force ghost. And for some reason, this surprises some people, and I'm like, I thought it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that he was going to be a Force ghost. I mean, he died at the end of The Last Jedi. He said, "See you around, kid." He's coming back. Like, it's...
I thought it was pretty evident, too.
Yeah. Like, they're not going to kill Luke off and not bring him back as a Force ghost, especially now that Leia's going to be dead. They need somebody to talk to Kylo, and Kylo still needs to, have closure on that whole thing that happened with Luke, and, Luke is his only surviving family, so they're gonna have to keep him around in some capacity, and he's also still gonna have to teach Rey. He's gonna sort of, I feel like, have the Obi-Wan and Yoda role that like Obi-Wan had in Empire and Jedi, where he's like talking to Rey and giving her information and things like that. So
Probably safe assumption.
yeah. All right, so our last bit of casting news for this episode is actually kind of funny. So the podcast Making Star Wars, which it has been pretty reliable in the past. I mean, they get some things right, some things wrong, but for the most part, they're a pretty good and repeatable source. But they've revealed that there's been a casting call released for stern-faced individuals to be extras for a shoot that will last throughout August. So this comes from an article from Express in the UK, and it says that this scene involves Finn and Poe, so John Boyega and Oscar Isaac, and it's supposed to be set in some sort of bar. There isn't much else to go on with the scene. Some people think it could sort of be like a Canto Bight scene or like a cantina scene, but they're filming there for several weeks, so it has to have some significance in the story.
Yeah.
Any idea what do you think that could possibly be?
Stern-faced individuals could mean anything.
But if they're like in a bar sort of thing, could they be like meeting with, not like politicians, but maybe people who could help them or give them resources as the resistance? Because resistance is still, again, pretty like anemic when it comes to the amount of people that they have and the amount of...
Do you think they're meeting up with DJ again?
They could be.
In some way?
Yeah.
Shape or form?
I do think DJ will come back. I do remember there was, I think, a Reddit leak, so take it, for what you will. A few weeks back that said that there was a scene with DJ, Finn, Poe, and Rose. So this could be somehow connected to that, but this article from Express only mentions Finn and Poe in the scene. So it could be the same report, it might not be. So we'll see, but the shoot is supposed to last throughout August. So, possibly around that time we'll get some more information about it, but yes, they are looking for stern-faced individuals. So if you
Set
live
in some kind of bar could mean a lot.
It could be a lot of things. So if you're a stern-faced individual and you live in the UK, feel free to try out. Try out and let us know if you get on set what's going on. What scene are they filming? Give us the deets.
They wouldn't be allowed to do that anyway.
No, I know. But, some people have been on set and leaked stuff. That's how we got certain things last year from The Last Jedi.
Yes, and how would we be able to tell if those things are right or not?
The hut blowing up, we got a year and a half before the movie came out, and that was correct.
Okay, well, yeah, the hut blowing up means absolutely nothing without context.
Well, we said the person who did that, which is Bothan Spy on Reddit, said that Rey and Kylo have a conversation that Luke doesn't like, and so he destroys the hut, which is, a pretty good summary of what happened in that scene.
That's true.
So, Bothan Spy, if you're out there, feel free to leak some more information. Alright, so our last bit of news is not cast news. It revolves around the Star Wars theme park that's coming to Disney World next year. The theme park is called Galaxy's Edge, and this article from bizjournals.com shows some pictures that reveal the Imagineers building some sort of mountain, it looks like, in the park. It doesn't look like any sort of planet that I'm familiar with, so I don't know what it could possibly be.
Well, all we have right now are the models that came out last year, which gives it more of a, I guess, what planet would you consider this to be?
I think they, I don't think that they said that it's clearly going to be planets that we've seen. I think that they're just kind of creating their own planet.
Okay, because I was going to say, the buildings that they have models of look very much like a mixture of different architecture that we've seen throughout the Star Wars movies.
Right, so I think they kind of mix it together, which is probably what they're doing now. And so someone just took photos of them building like these mountains in the background. So, the park looks like it's really coming together. The concept art looks amazing on it.
Is it a mountain? It looks could be very well just a building.
The articles refer to it as a mountain.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it looks like it's coming together really well. The concept art looks great. My computer's making noises. That's amazing. And I can't wait to go next year. I want to see what it looks like. Especially the hotels and everything. And I wonder if what they're building now has something to do with Episode 9.
Nah.
You never know.
They're calling it Galaxy's Edge. It's not going to be related to anything. It's going to be very Star Warsy, but not. It's they want to make it of its own. They don't want to. They don't want to directly anchor that in any sort of Star Wars movie, because then you're isolating one trilogy from the rest of the stuff that they plan on putting together. So they want to make it very, very all-inclusive, very broad. So that's why I believe that they're going to be using, like I said, different architecture from different places. So it kind of has that Star Wars feel, yet not specific enough that you go, oh, it's Jakku, or oh, it's...
I mean, judging by the concept art here and the models, it looks very Star Warsy. It's not one specific planet, which, again, I think is fine. You know, and it allows them to be more creative with what they do as well and what they build, and they don't have to stick to one planet's, like, designs or anything like that.
Right. I think that's smart. But
very smart. But the park is going to open in Orlando next year in 2019, and I don't know when it's coming to Disneyland. If it's around the same time, I don't think really any information was released from that. So we'll keep you updated on that, but it's definitely coming to Disney World in Orlando next year.
Can you imagine the crowds there?
It's already, I mean,
Hollywood Studios in general, with the fact that they're going to be opening Galaxy's Edge and recently opened up Toy Story Land. That's...
Yeah, so Galaxy's Edge is going to be right near Toy Story Land, and it's going to be where the backlot used to be. So
the fact that both of those are right next to each other, that's just... Can you imagine the other side of the park now?
I know.
It's going to be completely dead.
It's like the way Harry Potter is at Universal Studios.
Right, yeah.
It's like you have Harry Potter, and then you got everything else. So...
But the thing is, it's talking about Universal for a moment, they make you split up your Harry Potter experience. I mean, I would think, not that I say Disney should do that, but I feel like there's enough with Star Wars and Toy Story that you can do that, you could actually make a whole separate park out of it.
Well, what I think is interesting, and that could be a possibility, is that it's going to have its own hotel. So is the hotel going to... It's obviously not going to be in the park, but I don't know where exactly they're building the hotels. I don't think that came out yet.
No, I don't think so either.
I would assume... Because the hotels are...
They said it was going to be really close, because that's what Disney wants to do going forward, because I'm more familiar with this.
Yes.
Epcot wants to build their new hotel right on the doorstep of the park.
Right, so if you've never been to Disney World, there's obviously the 4 parks, and then they have hotels near the park, so it's like...
They have hotels scattered throughout their large amount of land.
Right, but
closer to one certain park than another.
But they refer to, like, are you staying at the Epcot hotels or the Magic Kingdom hotels?
Right, based on where they are in relation.
This would probably be the Hollywood Studios hotels, which I'm trying to think now off the top of my head which ones are the Hollywood Studio hotels.
Port Orleans is the one that comes to mind.
So probably there. French Quarters and Riverside. Port Orleans would be close. And maybe Caribbean Beach, I think, too. I
think that might all be considered Hollywood Studios, but I think they want to build these... Because Star Wars isn't just going to be a regular old hotel resort area. This is going to be a high class, let's say, richer type, which they probably want to put priority on and move it closer.
Right, and
so probably on the doorstep of the park.
And it makes sense, but yeah, Hollywood Studios is going to be more crowded.
But one side is going to be so crowded, and the other side is going to be completely empty.
What I think is ultimately going to happen is that side of Hollywood Studios that you have Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge on is going to be more of like their movie properties land, and the other side, the right side of the park, is going to be more of like the old school Hollywood side, because they still have Tower of Terror there, they got Sunset Boulevard there, the Grauman's Chinese Theater in the middle of... so
the Grauman's Chinese Theater, which is probably going to be remodeled because they can't.
Well, they have the Star Wars fireworks show up there.
Right, but you don't need a Grauman's Chinese Theater anymore. That's so old school.
Listen,
is that question? Is that like the icon of the park right now?
Yes, it is, because they got rid of.
I think they don't need an icon anymore.
No, because it used to be the Eiffel Tower, and then it became that stupid hat, and they got rid of the hat.
No, I think it went Eiffel Tower, Grauman's, then to the hat, then to Grauman's again.
Yes, I think it's Grauman's, which I hope it stays because I love Hollywood Studios as the movie park. Keep it there, please. You already got rid of the Great Movie Ride, which hurts my soul. Keep Grauman's.
But there's nothing about that other side of the park that's old school anyway. I mean, yes,
Tower. It is. The streets there.
Yes, the streets, but they have nothing there. They have nothing there. And one of the bigger attractions that's off that way is Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah, I mean, that park...
That doesn't scream all Hollywood to me.
That park is sort of losing its identity in a way, and it makes me sad because that's my favorite park there.
No, it's not losing its identity, it's building a new one, because the old one's too old.
Rest in peace, Great Movie Ride.
Now...
You'll forever be in my heart.
Question for you. Do you know about these layouts at all? Like where the Toy Story Land and the Star Wars Land lay out?
Toy Story Land is where... So do you remember where Toy Story Mania is? So when you walk into the park...
Right, okay, more specifically, my question was where Star Tours is now, is that going to be
part of Star
adjacent,
Wars Park,
right next to it? Okay, that's what I figured.
Because I don't know if you remember when we were there in 2016, but they had around Star Tours, they had like... It was all blocked off.
Yeah.
That's going to be all Star Wars Land.
You know what was oddly in the middle of all that?
Muppets.
What the hell are they going to do with the Muppets?
Maybe.
Because they just...
Maybe. Okay, here we go. Crack theory coming here. Because Jim Henson helped with Yoda. Okay? Maybe Yoda's a Muppet, and like the Muppets could somehow like cross over and help, like, in
Are the Muppets relevant enough that you want to keep the Muppets?
Of course the Muppets are relevant enough.
Good, I wanted to hear your answer on that.
Of course the Muppets are relevant enough.
I'm just making sure, but they're kind of lost.
You know how relevant it is, okay? The current winner of American Idol, her audition song was Rainbow Connection, which Kermit the Frog sang. So, hence, Muppets are still relevant. Well, thank you very much.
That's great to hear.
It's amazing.
I just wanted to make sure that they're not getting rid of the Muppet Show, because...
I mean, I can't guarantee anything. They got rid of the Great Movie Ride. I'm still salty about it.
There's still a lot of work to do there.
There is.
But
all
back
right.
on track.
Yes.
Back to our
show.
That finishes our news portion of our program today. We're moving on to the second half of our program. Our program is where we are going to go through... Each of us have isolated ourselves and thought up a possible plot to episode 9. Well before we have any idea what's going on, we're just as in the dark as you guys are. Obviously, Brittany, who has her very own Tumblr following. What is your Tumblr?
The Four-Eyed Jedi. That's my name on Tumblr. My blog is Darkness Rises and Light to Meet It.
There, that's an easy plug for you. She has gone into vast detail on what she believes to be her version of episode 9. Me, on the other hand, I don't have a Tumblr, and I have about a page's worth of notes that I've come up. So we're gonna have very, very different. I'm gonna be very much to the point, and Brittany is going to wax poetically on each character, pretty much. But
well, I think my predictions are obviously going off of the 2 movies and also just storytelling themes in general, because I'm a writer and I study storytelling and themes and stories, and I'm really familiar with the hero's journey and, you know, just the whole Star Wars saga in general. So a lot of my predictions are kind of informed on that, and, you know, that's sort of where I'm coming from. But I want to hear your predictions first.
You want to hear my predictions first? Okay.
Yes, I want to hear your predictions first. So I haven't looked at his predictions, and he hasn't told me what he thinks. So
okay.
What do you predict is going to happen in episode 9?
So there is a bit of a time jump. I think we've all confirmed that.
All right. So how long are you thinking?
Oh, well, see, you're putting numbers on me already. I told you it's a very basic thing I got.
All right. So there's a time jump.
There's a time jump. A small amount of time.
Okay.
Because you have much more detail than I am. You said the events of The Force Awakens and Last Jedi are within a what time period?
Like 3 or 4 days of each other.
Okay, so let's say that's within a week. No, we've got to go within, let's say, a couple months.
Okay.
So the rebellion has been, rebellion.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, I have to say it right.
The resistance.
The resistance in the First Order.
Yes.
Although, I'll tell you, when I was typing my notes earlier, I typed in rebellion and then typed in resistance, and then I went Republic, or excuse me, Empire, and then went back and said First Order.
Listen, it's poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah.
Stylistically designed to be that way.
Yeah. Okay, anyway. So, obviously where we left off, Kylo is the Supreme Leader. But things haven't gone exactly right. There have been multiple times, in my story, where the First Order has met up with the Resistance, and they just happen, and the Resistance just keeps getting away. Like, Kylo just can't, for some reason, he just can't finish him off. Now, that doesn't make many people happy. Now, he's not, the reasoning behind it for Kylo is that he doesn't want to make public, that he doesn't want to destroy the two people he cares about. He cares about his mom, and he cares about Rey. He doesn't really care about anybody else, but those two people are the people he's chasing, and he can't seem to nail them down.
Yeah.
Now, so that's been the talk, and I'm sure they're gonna. But then, first bit of action we get is they meet up again. I'm just laughing at her smile.
I'm smiling because I'm really proud of him that he wrote this down. He's actually doing predictions because it's nice to hear him talk about it because I talk to him about Star Wars literally every day. This isn't the only time. We don't talk just once a month.
No, listeners, every day.
Every day, I mean it. So to actually hear him come up with predictions is great. So
I'm sure it warms your heart.
It does warm my heart.
Okay, so again, same situation. I don't know how they're finding him. I'm assuming in space, but because that would make it easier for me.
Yeah.
And at least where I'm going with the story. They find him in space again. Kylo Ren just can't seem to pull the trigger again, and Hux has had enough of it. Kylo, along this period of time, has lost his leadership ability, let's say. Most of his stormtroopers really don't believe in him anymore, and there's kind of that underground feel that they want Hux to be their leader. So, once again, Kylo Ren has him within their grasp, and he just doesn't want to pull the trigger again. But Hux comes out of nowhere and does something a little drastic and underhanded. And although Hux has been held down by Kylo's overpowering with the Force, which is kind of left him really angry and wanting more power, so he undercuts him and takes down one of the Resistance ships, which had Leia in it. So that was the reason that Kylo didn't want to shoot it down. So Leia is destroyed. Now, on the other side of things, the reason this all happened, the reason Leia's ship was left out there to begin with, was because dumb old Poe decided to try to make one more. He tried to make one more move to try to get back at the First Order.
Oh, Poe.
So Kylo had seen this coming and didn't want to do anything about it, but because Poe's poor strategy, he left them too wide open again, and Hux took advantage of this, which sets everything out of place for both the Resistance and the First Order. With the First Order, you have Hux eclipsing Kylo Ren in leadership because he was able to do something that Kylo Ren had been continuously unable to do. And on the other hand, you have a huge disagreement now because the Resistance has lost their leader in Leia, and once again, Poe has not come through with the right answer. Mm-hmm. So, Hux has gained a lot of following, and on the other hand, I'm going to switch over to the Resistance side.
Okay.
After that move that Poe did, they escaped with their lives, but that's about it. So you have your main characters still intact.
So Poe does the same thing he did in Last Jedi?
I kind of feel like he's still not getting it.
Yeah,
and
I agree
Rey
with that.
kind of gets in his face, and same with Finn. They really don't like where this is going. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm realizing as I'm talking about this, there's certain things that we just talked about before regarding Lando and regarding DJ that I never really included in this outline.
That's fine.
But who knows if... Lando you can fit in there, and who knows if DJ...
Listen, we'll have plenty of prediction podcasts that we can throw them in.
So, at this point, Rey and Finn, they really don't want to be associated with Poe any longer. They're tired of his continual moves that put a lot of pressure on the Resistance, and for no apparent reason. Mm-hmm. Although Poe is a very aggressive person, wants to get results, wants to get them now, but he's got to understand that there's consequences to his moves. Rose is busy trying to fix everything up and clean up all of Poe's mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, Rey feels like she needs to go back. We've talked about this briefly.
Yeah.
That Rey, there's something about it that she didn't. She has unfinished business at the island.
On Octo?
Octo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she and Finn, along with BB-8, scrapped BB-8.
R2.
R2. That's a better idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Chewie.
Yeah, of course. Uncle Chewie.
Uncle Chewie. They go back to the island. Also, Kylo leaves the Resistance.
The First Order.
Excuse me. Yes, you're right. Sorry.
It's okay. That's alright. I'm gonna mix them up too. It's alright.
Kylo leaves because he feels like he needs to get his leadership position back. And the only way he's going to be able to do this is by doing a drastic secret mission. So he has him, and he has his Knights of Ren with him as well.
Yes.
The Knights of Ren are still loyal to Kylo, and they believe he knows exactly what he's doing because he's going to go and take him out and take out the Resistance once and for all.
Who would actually believe that Kylo knows what he's doing? He's clearly demonstrated he hasn't.
They believe in him.
Yeah.
They believe in his power.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of, they are still afraid of him. So they go off. And he feels led to the island.
Mm-hmm.
So they both meet back at the island. Now my idea is that the only thing I have to go off of is the Force vision from the original...
From Force Awakens?
From Force Awakens.
Okay.
So do you remember the vision in the Force Awakens?
I remember the vision in Force Awakens.
Okay,
yes,
well,
I do.
I'm being more specific. In the one moment where you see Rey on the ground...
Yes.
And what we assume to be a Knight of Ren in that group.
Yeah.
And then Kylo stabs the one.
Right.
And then they're all kind of looking.
Yeah.
Something leads to that exactly happening again.
Okay. I can see that happening.
So it's kind of like that thing where they actually find each other, and the Knights of Ren are all gung-ho to try to kill Rey, and Kylo does not want Rey to die.
What I think is interesting about that is, in The Force Awakens, with that Force vision...
Yes.
It's referred to as a clan member that he kills, but because it's never said in the movie, and the one he kills is wearing a helmet that looks exactly like one of the Knights of Ren's helmet, it could be, like, JJ could make it, like, yeah, he kills a Knight of Ren. So
right.
I think that's a very plausible prediction.
So that flips everything on its end again, because he's actually saved Rey's life this time.
Twice. This will be the second time.
Much more drastic this time than the last time. Because actually, to be honest, she saved his life in Last Jedi.
Okay, yeah.
She
gave him something.
She tossed him a lightsaber, otherwise he was dead.
Well, he killed Snoke for her.
Yeah, but that wasn't like... Snoke wasn't going to kill Rey.
Well, I mean, if Kylo didn't, Snoke would have.
But it wasn't... The danger wasn't imminent.
True.
Kylo would have killed Rey if that was to go forward, but that didn't happen. She was in imminent danger for someone, and Kylo eliminates the person that's about to kill her. Now that flips the Knights of Ren are confused. And of course, at that moment, Hux finds out where Kylo is. They all meet at the island. And I feel that might be where your climax happens.
Okay.
Now, this is where things get really fuzzy, and I'm really not sure what the hell's going to happen
That's
here.
fine.
Okay, because I don't know what the hell's Finn's been doing. And I kind of feel like he's going to get wrapped up in some Poe plan.
Okay.
Which would be really stupid. But I feel like the only way to wrap up Finn's arc is to have him convince other stormtroopers that this is not the right way to go.
I agree with you.
Or to rally the troops in some way.
Yeah.
Maybe not stormtroopers, but maybe, like we said, maybe at this bar, his idea is that he needs to identify himself as a former stormtrooper and be like, guys, this is...
Right.
We need a democracy. You guys can't be going and thinking that Hux is going to be the proper leader because we're just going to get ourselves in the same mess we've gotten ourselves into.
Right. No, I agree with that.
That's kind of where I think your massive battle happens, but I don't think Hux dies in the end of this.
Okay.
Because wouldn't that be the same thing? If we're going to have poetry and it rhyme, you wouldn't kill Hux. Because you'd be just as bad.
I have a different theory for Hux, but go ahead with yours.
I kind of feel like they capture Hux. They don't kill him because it's not worth killing him.
Okay.
And with him, this is where it gets fuzzy because I feel like what the end is that I feel like they've got to show that both sides are wrong in a way.
I agree.
And it's kind of hard for me to figure out unless Poe's the one that learns the lesson from Finn as well. Like, you know, in the end, this is Finn telling Poe, your aggressive manner is not going to get us what we need. What we need is peace. We need a conglomeration. We need a democracy. Right. And I kind of feel like it's all going to tie up with a bow at the end with a new Jedi Order and a new Galactic Senate.
Okay, so what I think a lot of our stuff overlaps. Is that the end of your? That
would be as much as detail as I had to it.
So a lot of the stuff that I have overlaps, but I also go off on a different thing. So,
well, as I would expect, you have 2 Tumblr posts on it.
Well, 3 now, because I just recently posted the new one that I'll get into. It's kind of a crack theory, but we'll talk about it. But I actually want to start with what I think the title's going to be. So,
well, you know what? That's a really good point. I didn't even consider that, but you've already had your idea.
Okay, so I know this is like stretching, but in the Star Wars fandom, we look at details because the filmmakers specifically put details in everything in Star Wars as a way to tell us, okay, this is what's going to happen. So, what I've liked about the sequel trilogy titles is that there's multiple layers to them. So, The Force Awakens isn't just like, there haven't been any Force users for this long, and all of a sudden, it's awakening. You know, the Force is awakening in ice cream.
I'm like, what is that noise? It's the ice cream man. Who wants ice cream? I'm buying.
Alright, so what I like about the sequel trilogy is that the titles have multiple meanings. So, The Force Awakens isn't just about, hey, the Force is, you know, coming back to life after all these years. There haven't been, you know, Jedi for like 30-something years. It functions like The Force awakens in Rey, and it also awakens Kylo. Multiple meanings there. So The Last Jedi could be singular or plural, referring to like Luke is the last Jedi, or Rey, Luke, and Kylo are the last of that kind of Jedi, or that the whole idea of what a Jedi is coming to an end. So there's multiple layers to it. We've seen some titles in like the other films that have multiple layers, like The Phantom Menace could be Darth Maul, it could be the Emperor, it could even be Anakin.
It could be even Jar Jar.
He could be the Phantom Menace. But then you have very literal titles like Attack of the Clones, you know, Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. So, I think the title is going to be something that reflects change and reflects a new beginning, but also reflects balance. And I think it's going to be something like The New Order. So this is why I think this. So
you must have said so many times because I was just sitting here trying to come up with one, and that's the words that came into my head, and I went, that couldn't be possibly original. I've heard that too many times already.
Well, okay, so the coloring of the titles of just the Star Wars logo is blue now. So for Force Awakens it was yellow, for Last Jedi it was red, and for this one's going to be blue. Again, you don't want to look into color, you don't want to look into meanings too much, but they deliberately choose certain colors. Like in Last Jedi, they deliberately chose red as a color palette in the movie to get across certain things. So yellow is more happy, optimistic, adventurous, and that kind of reflects the tone of The Force Awakens to some extent. Red is about, it could refer to passion, love, death, danger, evil, that all fits The Force Awakens. Blue is a color that means balance, peace, harmony, serenity. So I think that's, you need a title that's going to sort of reflect that.
Okay.
So I think that The New Order is one of those titles that's going to have multiple meanings. It could refer to the fact that they're going to create a new sort of government that takes some parts, the good parts of the Republic, like the New Republic, and even though the First Order is bad, it's quite efficient. So I can see them taking some parts from the First Order, putting it together, and it's like the New Order, a new way of running things. Because clearly, you know, they've tried to run it using the New Republic, and, you know, they tried to do it with the Empire and the First Order, and it doesn't work. You got to combine them.
Right.
And I also think it could refer to this new order of Jedi that's going to be created. So I think that the title could have multiple meanings. Also, this is just a side or a detail. The Last Jedi, the title was actually mentioned in The Force Awakens a few times. In the title crawl in The Force Awakens, it referred to Luke Skywalker as the Last Jedi.
Okay.
And then Snoke said in The Force Awakens that he was the Last Jedi. That Luke was the Last Jedi. A New Order is mentioned by Kylo in The Last Jedi when he's talking to Rey. He's like, you and I can bring a new order to the galaxy, which I think would be quite interesting if that ended up being the title, that they do bring a new order to the galaxy. I'm not saying that's the case, but I just think it would be interesting.
They haven't done that before. When have they never just a title in the movie? Or any of the movies?
Oh, I'm saying for the sequel trilogy they have.
What do you mean?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, no, but like...
They mentioned Last Jedi in The Force Awakens. Literally, the Last Jedi several times.
Right, I understand.
So I'm not saying that that's going to necessarily be the case, but I just think it's a cool little Easter egg.
Enough.
Yeah, I think it's a cool little Easter egg. Alright, so how I ultimately think... I haven't settled on a time jump yet, because originally I was saying about 6 months to a year, 2 at maximum. There was a rumor going around, which I'm going to get to, that there was a 5-year time jump, and I think 5 years is too long. But, again, they can kind of play with time as they want, but you don't need it to be too long, because if it goes too long without Rey and Kylo connecting again, I think that kind of harms the story, and if it's 5 years, it means nothing interesting happened in 5 years, and we're picking up at this point.
So what time period are you saying?
I'm saying 6 months to a year, or at least 2 at maximum. Because you do need time.
No, not that much.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't think that's going to happen. I think 6 months to a year, but, like, if you have to make it a little longer, 2 years at max. Because I think you need to give the Resistance time to build a base, build a following, get your resources.
I think 6 months is probably as far as I would go if I was writing the story. I think 3 months is okay, too. But I wouldn't... Okay, like you said, you wouldn't want it to be too long where the characters kind of forget.
Right.
And kind of, like...
The only reason why I may be saying it's a little longer is that John Boyega is growing out his hair significantly, if you've seen him recently. For, like, he was photographed, I think, a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And he purposely said he's growing out his hair, and I'm like, the way his hair's growing out, it would at least have to be at least a year, I think. Okay. Or something around that line. So, I mean, it's malleable. It could be anything. But I think what we're going to see at the beginning is that, obviously, I agree with you what you said, that Kylo is... I think he's doing pretty well as Supreme Leader, that he's better than we think he is. But I also think, like you said, he's letting the Resistance get away a lot more than he should be because of Rey and his mother. Like, there's a lot of chances that he could kill them and end the war, but he's not doing it. Because he's proven time and time again he can't kill Rey, and he proved he can't kill his mom.
Okay, that's true, yeah.
So I don't think he can do that. And I think Hux was scheming in The Last Jedi, and I think that he's going to take advantage of this weakness. Like, pretty much like you said, I think he's going to secretly be planning a mutiny behind Kylo's back. And I think this mutiny is going to come not by necessarily strength, because Hux can't go toe-to-toe with Kylo.
Right.
Kylo's got the Force. Also, I believe that the Knights of Ren are going to be like Kylo's Praetorian Guard in a way.
It would make sense.
So I think that the best way Hux can get him is by attacking those he cares about the most, because he knows that that's going to be his weakness. And I don't know... I think Hux is going to find out more about his connection to Rey, but Hux isn't stupid. I think he has an idea that something else happened in that throne room with Rey and Kylo.
Oh, absolutely.
And, but I think ultimately that he's going to... say they're, like, in a meeting or something, and then Kylo leaves, Hux is going to give the order to be like, look, you see this ship, shoot and kill.
Right.
And that's ultimately what's going to happen. And obviously the Resistance doesn't know that Hux gave the order and is going to think that Kylo gave the order to kill his mother, or to blow up the base or something like that. So it's sort of similar to you, and it makes them hate him more, and also makes Rey question, like, did he actually do it? I kind of feel like she would believe it, but also not, like, kind of go back and forth on it. But it would make him definitely more of a public enemy, number one. And so what I think is going to happen is after Leia's death, there's going to be a shift in command, and that good old Poe Dameron is going to become general. I know, like,
of course he is.
He's quite young, but they set it up at the end of Last Jedi when she's like, why are you talking to me? Follow him. As,
Right.
like, he's the new one. So I feel like he's going to be the general, and that's kind of problematic for me, and I think that's really where a lot of conflict's going to come, where we're going to see that maybe not everything's great in the Resistance, and that Poe is kind of radical. So I think that what's going to happen is he's going to take over, and I think he's going to want to get revenge for Leia's death. As much as he, quote-unquote, learned his lesson in The Last Jedi, he didn't really learn his lesson. Because if you listen to Last Jedi, when he tries to quote Holdo, he changes the quote. When she says, you know, we are the spark that will restore order to the galaxy, he says, like, we are the spark that will light the fire that will burn the First Order down. So he's still thinking about, like, exacting revenge,
Yes.
completely eradicating them. And I think what's going to happen is he sees Rey as a tool to do that. I almost see that Rey is going to become, like, this Mockingjay figure, like, from, like, the way Katniss was in the Hunger Games, where she became the symbol of this rebellion, because it's like, look, we have the Last Jedi on our side here, and she can do anything. It's sort of like the myth of, like, the Jedi was like, the Jedi were the protectors, they can protect us from anything, and it would get more people onto their side, because it's like, look, we have the Last Jedi here. And I think, you know, Rey's obviously going to be recruiting some other Jedi, but I think I can even see them filming, like, propos in a way, or going to planets and having, like not conferences or something, but just, like, meetings or rallies where it's like, hey, join the Resistance, and here's Rey. And I feel like Rey's not going to be too comfortable with that, because she's like, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, so it puts a lot of strain and pressure on her. So what I think is going to happen is that after Leia's death, I feel like there's going to be a funeral. I'm guessing it's going to be on Naboo, because Alderaan's not there anymore, and there is, like, a colony that, like, Alderaan had, but I don't think that's significant enough. So I think it's going to be on Naboo, and this is where I think the Force Bond's going to come back into play here. I see, like, Rey is walking by Leia's casket with the funeral, and she sees a reflection in it. She looks up, she sees Kylo. Because the Force Bond sparks when there's, like, an emotional connection between them, and I feel like that's what would bring it. They both cared about Leia. It's going to happen. And then I can almost see Rey going off, and Kylo appears again, and the two of them are arguing, and she's like, you killed her, and he's like, I didn't kill her, blah, blah, blah. They're going back and forth. And
Nothing
Poe,
like a good argument to spark another good argument.
well, at least she's talking to him.
Exactly.
But then I could see Poe walking in on it, and seeing Kylo for a split second before Kylo, like, disappears, and him being like, what are you doing? Like, seeing Rey almost as a traitor and enemy. Like, he was quick to label Holdo a traitor.
Okay.
You know, so I could see him being like, okay, you're a traitor. Why are you talking to the enemy here? And just to go back on something, I think Rey is also going to get this reputation as a great Jedi, because it's going to spread around that she killed Snoke, because that's what Kylo said.
Good point.
And so people are going to see her as, oh, she killed Snoke, blah, blah, blah. And that's going to be, like, the big propaganda, when it really isn't. I feel like that the real secret, the real truth is going to come out in time. But, so I think Poe is going to want to be like, to prove yourself, okay, that you're not really a traitor, you need to use this Force Bond to the connection, so, to our advantage. So you have to either, you know, use it to try to get him to come to us and turn him in, or use it to kill him, or to find out information, something like that. Like, have her use him for it. And I don't think Rey's going to be too comfortable with that, but I think she's going to do it because Rey is, you know, she wants belonging. She's like, well, if I have to belong here, that's fine. And I think Finn's going to be conflicted as well, because he's like, Rey's my friend, Poe's my friend, but Rey's talking to the guy who paralyzed me and almost killed me, and he's going to be, like, kind of torn.
Right.
So,
Okay.
That's sort of how I see the dynamic going there, and I almost see Poe doing anything to be successful, so I can see him doing some underhanded things, or teaming up with kind of shady people.
Gee, sounds a lot like Hux.
Yeah, which is what I'm getting to, is that Hux and Poe are foils of each other. They are both on opposite sides, but have the same mentality. They're both radicals. They would both burn everything down to get what they want, and so I don't think necessarily it's going to be a big bad. I think that Poe is going to be the antagonist of the Resistance, and Hux is going to be the antagonist of the First Order.
Okay.
You know, Poe is going to be Rey's antagonist, Hux is going to be Kylo's antagonist. And what I think is also going to happen in the meantime is Rey's going to be studying the Jedi text, trying to figure out what's going on. She's going to take the broken parts of the Legacy Saber, build a staff saber, and that's going to also reflect, like, the idea of, like, taking the old legacy and building something new out of it.
Okay.
Symbolism there. And also that, that the saber staff itself kind of reflects balance on both sides. So again, the idea of balance. But I also see her, because those kids were kind of brought in at the last scene, Last Jedi. I know you don't like that.
No.
But I feel like they're going to play a part. Like, she's going to be recruiting other Jedi, or at least training young kids.
No.
I know you don't like that.
The worst part of any of these Star Wars movies has all of them. When children are involved, it stinks.
Well, thanks for the segue, because this topic's coming up. No, children. So, if you guys have been following Reddit, and again, Reddit, you can't trust it. 99% of it is fake, but blind squirrel always finds an acorn once in a while. Okay, so here we go. There was a plot leak a while back. I still think this plot leak, for the most part, is completely bonkers, and I think it's when Colin Trevorrow was still involved in 9. But this is what the plot leak said.
Yeah.
There's a 5-year gap between the films.
Okay.
And that secretly this whole time Rey and Kylo had been meeting. And lo and behold, they had a child. But the thing is, Kylo doesn't know about the child. And Rey is raising the child not as her own, but like in the group of like these other Jedi children that she's like teaching. And how the leak goes is that she tells Kylo, he freaks out, Force chokes her, and Leia comes in and saves her. I don't like any of that, really, but I do like the idea of a Reylo baby. Now, before you actually shoot down my idea, hear me out. So I recently posted on Tumblr about this, because I saw a video that kind of got me thinking. And I think that a Reylo baby is a foregone conclusion. Like, a Reylo child's going to happen, whether it's in the epilogue of the film or whether it's actually in the movie. It could go many different ways, okay? I don't think there's going to be a 5-year gap, but I do think ultimately that she's either going to possibly be pregnant at some point, or they're going to have a baby at the end. But I think this works. Just hang on with me. So, all right, so part of the theory also went that the child was conceived essentially during the hand-touching scene. Because that scene, you know, is supposed to simulate, you know, all that good stuff. And in that moment, they were imbalanced. The Force theme plays. It's like the Force conceived this child as a way to sort of bring balance to the Force. And I'm like, as crack theory as this could be, and I don't know if Disney would go there, but, you know, they could. Say for just argument's sake that they do have a kid, right? And she did give birth to the child. And she is kind of raising it as like this, I don't know, not this like refugee child or whatever with all these other ones. But she's always like keeping that one close in particular. Not telling anybody that, by the way, I gave birth to the Supreme Leader's child. Because when I was thinking of, was like, it's clear to me that Rey and Kylo are going to be isolated from their own sides. Hux is going to do a mutiny, driving Kylo out. Poe's going to ultimately drive Rey out. What's going to make them ultimately come together, and what is going to make Kylo ultimately make that decision to be like, to turn, to prove his redemption? And what the theory I have also brings it nicely back to The Force Awakens and also the whole saga as a whole. So, if Kylo finds out that Rey had a child or that she is pregnant, I think it would change his mindset in a way, because at this point, the thing he wants most is love, and even though he quote-unquote had a family and was born with privilege, he was kind of neglected by his parents and was never shown that sort of affection. And I ultimately think that him having a child would sort of fulfill in a way the family that he always wanted, and would do the same for Rey. But I also think it would give him a reason, something to be like, fight for and protect and turn for. Because if you think about this poetry again, okay, Anakin fell to the dark side trying to protect his wife and unborn children. Reverse it, Kylo...
I gotta just say, you love the idea of reversing the prequels.
It's like a thing. It's
a
big theory. That's,
I get it.
But I could see it sort of happening. And what would be really poetic about it is that Kylo makes a sacrifice to protect Rey and his child, because he finally realizes in that moment that what his father did, what Han did in sacrificing himself to protect his son, in that moment he realizes that Han really did love him, and through going and trying to protect his own child and Rey, and maybe doing some sort of a similar sacrifice, he realizes in that moment that, wow, my father really did love me, and this whole thing that I've been fighting for isn't really worth it, that he kind of has this epiphany in the end, and that's the child sort of brings him there. So, like, when he has a moment of, like, maybe, he and Rey are fighting against Hux or something, and he's got to, like, protect Rey and either his unborn child or his child, and he has in that moment to save his child, and he is in the same moment that his father was in when he was on the bridge going to try and save Ben. It was like, oh wow, I understand what he did. This is a real act of love. Crap, like he did really care for me and love me, and I think that's ultimately possibly a tool for his full redemption in a way. And I think that would be really poetic, and it would make Han's death really meaningful. And it would also kind of reverse what happened in the prequels. It was like Anakin fell to the dark side trying to protect his children and his family, and it kind of ruined them. Kylo would turn to the light to save his family, because remember, the entire theme of this trilogy, I really believe, is what Rose said in The Force Awakens, in The Last Jedi. We're not going to win by killing what we hate, but by saving what we love. You save what you love. Alright? Anakin was driven by hate in the prequels, and I think that's going to be opposite for the sequels. So,
okay.
That's, that makes the time jump kind of sketch, depending on, because if it's a baby, it's like, you can't have a baby in it, but like a toddler, or is she pregnant? So it's like, again, this is a crack theory, but I do think there's going to be a Reylo child in some form, whether it's in the epilogue that has a time jump.
I think the epilogue sounds like a lot better idea. I'm just going to put it out there in this regard. If what you say is true,
mm-hmm.
let's just say that's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
If you thought the reaction to The Last Jedi was bad, that is going to have a horrendous reaction from a certain side of the fan base.
Oh, well, even Reylos don't like the idea, because they're like, well, she'd be a mother? That's weakening her character. So I'm like, okay, so you're saying everyone who's a mother is a weak character.
No, what we watched a couple days ago, where it talked about aliens and Ellen Ripley,
exactly.
and how strong of a character she was, because she went from being an alien, being the one, the last virgin girl, right, in terms of the horror film, and turning into the mother character, and then in the end you have the queen and the mother fighting each other. Which would be
Rey's trajectory.
I think what you state hits every point.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's got to be a way to hit a different point, because that does not make for a fun Star Wars movie.
I know, but it
makes it fun for a Reylo movie.
Well, okay, to be quite honest, it's going Reylo anyway.
Oh no, I agree, but that's like a hard turn.
Well, honestly, I'd rather them solidify it and be like, "This is it, guys." So there's no discourse being like they're friends or they're related,
no,
or
but
cousins.
But you don't need a baby in the movie. Actually, baby in the center plot point of the movie to make that statement. You could put that in the epilogue and wrap the bow on things.
You could, but I just think it would also be the symbol of starting over, creating something new.
Yes, and you could put that in the epilogue.
I get that, but I just really like my headcanon moment of Kylo doing what his father did.
You hit all the points very well.
Yeah.
But it could just be about Rey. It doesn't have to be about the baby.
It could be, yeah. I mean, it would totally work with Rey, too, if
That's
he was
what I'm
saving
saying.
her.
All these points that you're hitting about the baby could equally be hit on Rey alone, and it doesn't have to be about a baby.
It totally could. But I just think
because it's just
the father-son thing, the father-child thing.
Yeah, no, that works.
And it would also bring back Anakin saved Luke. in Return of the Jedi. So
yeah, no, it's nice, but I don't like the idea of a baby made from the touch of hands that wasn't even. It was a force bond that created
I know,
a child.
it's a little crack, but
a little crack.
It's crack.
It's crack.
It's a crack theory, but I like you said, it could work with Rey. I do think there's going to be a child.
I like what you're saying, and I would also agree with you. If this is going the way I would expect an epilogue with a child and a brand new Jedi Order.
Twins. It has to be twins.
No, it doesn't have to be twins. No, come on.
It's going to be twins. Balance.
No.
Balance.
No.
I'll bet you $5 right now. It's twins.
A whole $5.
I'll bet you $5 right now. It's twins. We'll shake on it. Want to bet? You're very confident in your opinion. I'm confident it's going to be twins. Fraternal twins.
Fraternal twins.
Boy-girl twins.
It sounds so boring. I'm not going to bet you on that because it's probably going to happen. I don't like the idea, but it's probably going to happen.
So you don't want to give me $5?
Let's not even get started on money here. But
I also think...
I like your ideas.
Yeah.
I think that works. I just don't... I don't like the baby element. Everything other than the baby element, fantastic.
I mean, we'll see, but... I don't know. They could take the story anywhere.
But, okay, let's put it this way. Disney, do you think they really pushed that? Do you think the baby plot would really be something that wholesome Disney would go for?
I think they can get away with a lot more in Star Wars than they can in... Yeah. They've killed off a lot of people in Star Wars.
Killing off people means nothing in movies nowadays.
I think they can get away with a lot more.
Hey, Avengers! Killing off people means
That's
nothing
different.
nowadays.
Marvel is
I agree,
a completely different
but
beast.
Still, who have you killed off of significance?
In Star Wars?
No, in this trilogy so far.
Han Solo.
Right. Okay. Agreed.
Then half the Resistance died.
No
Admiral
names.
Akbar's dead.
Wait.
Not
Akbar.
Who of significance? Luke.
But Luke comes back.
He's still dead.
He's
Leia's
a Force
gonna
ghost.
be
He's
dead.
still there.
Leia's gonna be dead.
Yeah, Leia will be dead. You're right. But what I'm saying is that, okay, Han Solo, significant death. Luke Skywalker, he'll be back in this movie.
But still dead.
He's still dead.
I mean, trust me, it was significant because
the
fanboys lost their freaking minds.
Well, so did the world when everyone died in Avengers, and anyone with 2 brain cells could tell you, they're going to bring everybody back, don't worry. So what I'm saying is that death generally isn't an end.
Yeah.
In these movies, in science fiction movies, death is not an end.
Right.
The reason that Han Solo's dead is because Harrison Ford said, I'm tired of these movies.
Right.
Kill me.
Right.
Luke died for a plot, and we'll be back.
Yes.
Because, no kidding.
Hey, guys, he died to save his nephew like his father died to save him. It's poetic, so it's not out of character. But, in your point with Hux, I do think Hux is going to be dead, because I think that they need to show a distinct difference between Kylo and Hux, that Hux is not available for redemption. There's no chance of redemption for him.
Well, okay.
Kylo, there is a chance of redemption for him.
Okay,
so I think Hux will die.
If you're going to kill Hux, then there's got to be a good reason why you kill Hux. And if there's a good reason you kill Hux, it's probably because...
He kidnapped Rey or something, or...
actually, here's what I was thinking.
Okay.
If we're calling them foils, what about Poe?
He's not going to die.
He's not going to die.
He's not going to die, but I do think he's going to get significantly wounded in a way. And he's going to have to pay for his crimes. I know, I wish they'd kill Poe off because...
No. What I meant by my hand motion wasn't that he's going to die.
Oh, he's going to lose an arm?
He's going to lose a hand.
That would be amazing. Oh my god.
He's going to lose a hand.
Well...
But, okay, where it was eventually going to was, does our main characters lose any limbs, or is that too cliche?
I think that's too cliche, but I like the idea of Poe losing it.
I think Poe's gonna lose a leg.
I was thinking about this in the fact that
losing a hand doesn't mean much anymore. Losing a limb, like a leg, means he's gotta be on crutches or he's gotta be in a wheelchair.
Or they shave his hair. I'm kidding.
They shave his hair. Yeah, that's just as. But you know what? Lose it? No, not losing a hand. Poe's gonna lose a leg because that completely takes him out of anything crazy anymore.
Right.
And if you're gonna go forward with this, he's got to be like, he really learned his lesson because now he can't go out and do things anymore. Right. Losing a hand would be one thing because they could just. Well, they've got to do something that he makes him immobile.
Well, what I think is going to happen is that he's going to obviously turn against Rey, try to turn everybody against Rey. She's going to rebel and leave, and I think Finn's going to go with her, or going to be on her side at least. Right. And maybe there's a fight, and something happens, and Poe's either arrested, like, you know, there's a mutiny on the Resistance side, and Poe's arrested, or he's maimed in some way. I don't think they're going to kill him, because unfortunately people like Poe, even though it would make sense, because he was supposed to die in The Force Awakens, but anyway.
So I could see where it becomes the point where... Okay, so if you say Hux has to die...
He has to die.
Okay, he has to die. How is he going to die? Can you come up with any basic idea of how he's going to die? Because there has to be... The only way... But the thing is, no...
Kylo doing it, I guess.
No, it can't be
Rey.
It has to be Rey. Because if Kylo does it, it's too close. It's him with his evil ways. And you've already seen the turn of Kylo to be good in the way that he's saving Rey, but Rey hasn't shown her bad side yet. And Rey's got to show the... If I'm going to go full Gray Jedi, which makes it so painful for me to say, you've got to show both coin flips. Meaning you've got to show Kylo come back and save Rey in the good way, and Rey's going to unleash the rage and kill Hux, because maybe Hux kills somebody of significance. Like,
he kills somebody of significance? Phas? What were you going to say?
I was good.
Finn?
Yeah, he can't kill Finn.
He's not going to kill Finn.
No.
I think
we got
I think he might hurt Rey in some way.
In who?
Hux. And then Kylo is in a position where he has to, like... I almost feel like it could be a reverse of, like, when Snoke was torturing Rey and was like, Kylo has to kill... I feel like... Or what's going to happen is... No, I think what he's going to do is he might do a reverse where it's like he hurts Kylo to sort of get Rey, because I think he knows that Rey is significant. So it's like, okay, to wound her, let me attack Kylo. And then I'm like, well, you messed with the wrong girl because she's, you know, she's going to take you down. But I think it's significant because he did kill Snoke to save her. He has saved her. She hasn't killed anybody yet.
Yeah,
I think
she's got to kill somebody.
Which I think is interesting, because if you think about it, Kylo's killed somebody. Finn's killed on the battlefield in The Force Awakens when he was killing. He possibly killed Phasma. We don't know.
Finn murdered many people.
He did, and he possibly killed Phasma. Poe, as we know, was responsible for a lot of deaths.
Is a murder king.
So Rey has to, I think, kill.
Poe's got to lose a limb.
I think Poe needs to be wounded and hurt in some way.
Poe needs to lose a limb and not be able to get it back.
If they're not going to kill him, then they have to do something to wound him.
Significantly. I don't want him getting away with what he's done.
No. I agree with you that Finn is going to, like, turn stormtroopers. I think that's what he and Rose are going to be involved in. I don't necessarily know where they're going to take Rose, because the way she was left in Last Jedi, we don't know. They can do anything with her, really.
You know what'd be interesting with her?
What?
Now this is where DJ can come in.
Okay.
If you're spreading the plot points too thin at that point, though. But if DJ can come back in, that's the way, because there was a somewhat point of trust when he took the amulet and gave it back to her and said, "Hey, look, I just needed this to get through. It wasn't really for anything. I know how much this means to you." So he does have some heart.
Right.
Obviously, he turned them in soon afterwards, but
he's made it clear that, look, I see your side of things. I don't hate you. I'm just doing what I'm doing to protect me. But there's another character like that. An Empire Strikes Back, and it got returned. So I could see that happening. And I think Rose could sort of be like, hey, you kind of owe us for what you did on the Supremacy. So
I bet he would be surprised to see her, too.
Yeah, I would totally see that. I could also, in terms of Hux dying, there's a lot of... Finn could do it.
No.
I almost wish that Phasma was still alive, because I feel like if Finn was going to do a First Order, like, Stormtrooper mutiny to kill her, to go against her.
What if she's alive and he convinces her? Boring.
No, he's not going to convince her, no. I mean, yeah, that'd be awesome, but no.
Do you think she's alive?
I don't think so. I mean, it was kind of left in the air.
No,
honestly,
well,
I'd rather
actually was left in the air.
I'd rather them leave her dead, because they haven't utilized her character, unless she's going to be something significant. It's like
She won't be.
you already had that battle between Finn and Phasma, where you're gonna have them fight again in
It meant
9.
nothing.
So they kind of botched that storyline. But okay, big question. Do you think, now obviously we've talked about this happening, and a lot of people have brought this up recently, and I don't know how I feel about this, because this is too out of the realm of things. People are saying that Kylo dies, but the Force brings him back, because people have this idea that in order for Kylo to be redeemed, he needs to die. Because they're like, well, Anakin died to be redeemed. There's a difference. Anakin was like 70% machine, and like he was killed. He was also an old man when he died. They specifically made Kylo younger. I don't think they're gonna kill off a 30-year-old like quote unquote villain to redeem himself. Now, people said he could lose a limb, his Force powers could go away, which I'm like, I don't think that just happens. But they're saying he has to do something. There has to be some consequence. That's the big thing, because I'm like, I don't want him dead. I think losing a limb thing is like,
Cliche.
Yeah, so I don't know.
He has to. He has to.
I do think what his payment's going to be is his punishment is he's going to have to go into exile. Ultimately. And I think he and Rey are going to go into exile, and sort of like, Rey's almost like, I know many of you probably haven't seen the movie High Noon, but the thing of High Noon is like the sheriff who is protecting this town that ultimately sort of turns against him. So in the whole film, he protects the town, but in the end, he sort of throws away his badge, and he and Grace Kelly go off. Mm-hmm. And I sort of think that's going to be the same thing. Like, Rey's going to be like, look, I helped you guys, we did this, but I don't entirely agree with you. I'm going to go off with Kylo and start this new Jedi Order. And then we jump cut 5 years later, and they have this new Order of Jedi and Reylo twins, and yeah. So, again, what I think is great about 9 is it can go any way, and people seem to think it's only going to go one way, like, oh, Rey's going to kill Kylo, and I'm like, if you think that, in the words of Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones, you haven't been paying attention, because it's not going to happen that way. She's not going to kill him, he's not going to kill her. And I think there's a lot of ways they could take it, but I do think I see Hux and Poe as kind of antagonistic people, so... Yeah. Alright, one last thing I have to add to the predictions is that I do think Rey is going to go back to Jakku at some point, just because I think it's part of, like, the hero's journey that the hero needs to go back home before they can go on the last leg of the journey, and I think her seeing where she used to live, possibly seeing her parents' grave, would help her, like, finally close that chapter of her life and realize how far she's come, that she can't stay in the past, and that she needs to go on to the future. I just think it would be good closure to do, so...
I think that ship has sailed, literally and figuratively. Does she even know where they're buried? Did he mention?
Yeah, he did, but he got it in her head. He got it from her head, all of that information. So the fact that he said...
she knew where they were buried?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Okay, so how Kylo got that information that he told her?
Okay.
He got from Rey's head. This whole time, Rey has known what's happened to her parents. She's known that they sold her for drinking money and that they're dead in a pauper's grave.
In a pauper's grave? Where?
So, in the desert. No specific thing, but she knows that they're dead and that they're buried. That's how he was it. But what her coping mechanism was, I'm not gonna acknowledge that, because who'd want to acknowledge that your parents dumped you and sold you off for money? And I think that she's basically, she would have stayed on Jakku that whole time if she never ran into Finn. I mean, she's kept the same hairstyle she had since she was a kid, because she was stuck in that mentality, and it took Kylo being like, look, this is what I found in your head, to be like, you know, you gotta say it and admit it to yourself that they're dead, they're not coming back. And even Maz said in The Force Awakens, the belonging you seek or your parents, whoever you're waiting for, they're never coming back. And she knew that, and yeah, well, we'll get into... There's a whole other thing in that scene we can get into.
I was gonna say, okay, we know that, but I don't see the significance in the story beyond just for her.
Well,
Could it be that she starts the movie in that place? Like she's separated from the Resistance because she's like, okay, if we're gonna play it with what you had, where she's the propaganda woman.
Yeah.
Do you think she escapes to Jakku?
What I think?
Isolate herself.
What I might think
before she
happens,
goes back to the island again.
Yeah. What I think might happen is when Poe drives her out. I think the only place she's gonna know to go, other than the island, is the last place that was her home, which was Jakku. And so for her to be there and sort of see her living in that AT-AT, all the ticks she left on the wall of like how many days she was there, all her old stuff, the Niima Outpost, Unkar Plut,
yes.
all of that, and maybe go visit
Unkar Plut.
Maybe go visit her parents' grave, would sort of realize like, I don't belong here. I have to do what I have to
That's
do.
True.
That's true. And I think that would be sort of the best
I can see that happening.
Because in other stories, like in Harry Potter, he goes to the Dursleys one last time before going on to his adventure. Frodo in Lord of the Rings goes to the Shire before moving on to the Grey Havens in the end. So it's like you need to stop at home one last time before you can move on. Even Luke in Return of the Jedi goes to Tatooine. I mean, it's not a perfect comparison, but
that doesn't work.
In a lot of stories, the hero returns home or retreats home and then realizes that I can't fit in that life anymore. I have to move on. So I see that happening.
Okay.
And maybe Kylo has something similar, like if he's on Naboo and he, I don't know, sees things with like his grandparents or whatever. That, again, this idea of killing the past.
Let's go back to Tatooine.
We know why. I know why you want to go back to Tatooine.
It hasn't been mentioned this entire episode, has it?
Jawas, because Jawas would make an appearance. I think we need to mention Jawas once, at least in every episode.
Well, I just feel that this trilogy is severely lacking in Jawas. Porgs are cute, but they're no Jawas.
Listen, you know how people are trying to like remake this movie? I'm like, you know what? Let's start a petition to be like, we need Jawas in episode 9. Or, I still stand by Utini, a Star Wars story, the amazing plot we came up with last episode.
I agree.
I stand by that. So
I'd stand by that too. I think we could probably sell that to George Lucas, who could then sell it to Disney and make $30 billion off of it.
I don't know, $30 billion. Maybe they'll make $30 off of it.
I'd take $30.
It's a profit. All right, so that's it for the predictions part of this episode.
That's just for that. That's the end of our show.
It's the end of our show. So we'll be back next month, and next month we should have some more like filming details for episode 9 because it starts filming at the end of this month. We'll have set leaks and photos.
Then we can build off of what we've already put down, or at least put down on paper, or put down on words.
Right, and I know they'll probably have more casting announcements and everything then too, and more news. So we'll be back next month, but you can find us at SoundCloud if you just go to Niima Outpost. You can also find us on Twitter. Our handle is at Niima Outpost Pod, and we're also on YouTube as well. And you can follow me on Tumblr. I'm the 4-eyed ED Jedi, and my blog title is Darkness Rises and Light to Meet It. So that's it for our show. Goodbye, and may the Force be with you.
Amen.
We'll take it.